Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Luqman Al-Hakim Muhammad Sofi 1181607. So today, me and my friend will be presenting about topic based on chapter 10, wireless, remote and wide area networking. So we choose an issue that can relate with this chapter. It is insufficient bandwidth. This issue is commonly happen in wide area networking. 1. So let's go with the introduction of this topic. So what is the meaning of the bandwidth? Bandwidth is the maximum rate of data transfer across a given path. Bandwidth may be characterized as network bandwidth, data bandwidth, or digital bandwidth. So how to rate the bandwidth? Bandwidth is typically expressed in bit per second, like 60 Mbps or 60 Mbs, to explain a data transfer rate of 60 million megabit every second.
We are all now connected by internet like neurons in a giant brain. That is a really nice quote from Stephen Hawking. What up? How's everything? Or in Korean they say 어떻게 지내세요? I hope that I pronounce it correctly. Before we start, let me introduce to you myself. My name is Muhammad Fawaz bin Ishaq. 22 year old of age, and I am a single father of three. Okay, just kidding. Mm, okay, let's jump right into the first thing first is why do I choose this subject? Okay, according to my study, I split this into two vital points. But disclaimer, I'm here not your ISP or your internet service provider. Okay, the first point is um, to indicate public to be wisely on choosing their bandwidth size. And the second thing is to make a better understanding the difference between streaming and downloading. Back into the first point, it is easy to dismiss bandwidth as a technical term that does not apply to public unless they like to play around with technique type product. In reality, learning bandwidth can be applied to your own network in to tweak your setup to get a better and faster connection. To discern or to recognize the difference between downloading and streaming, we will use water analogy. What is water analogy? Consider a lake and a river. A lake is a big pool of sitting water, while a river is a continuously moving water. A river may hold just as much water as the lake, but it is not in the same place at once. Downloading entire and 1080p movie will cost us time and energy from behalf of the network. When you stream a movie, let's say Netflix, the audio and the video are broken into individual packets that contain a small piece of file.
So next is the objective. So in this objective, all the information was collected based on what happened in our present day as the demand for internet uses increase day by day. So the objective that can be found in this presentation is first to expose about the meaning of what is insufficient bandwidth. Second, to reveal that insufficient bandwidth was a normal thing that happened in one. Third, to disclose the fact or the research about insufficient bandwidth as there are many confusion about this issue. Fourth, to identify the causes of the insufficient bandwidth. And the last one, to notify that insufficient of bandwidth can be solved.
My name is Muhammad Abid bin Muhammad Kamarul Zaman, contact numbers 118-1599. For the findings, I will talk about the effects from insufficient bandwidth from various angles. First, effects for the database. The effect is when you're backing up the data or copying the data from a network, it will be too long to complete it. Second, effects in response. Some users notice that it has a lag time between the action. Example, the click button and the response after it. Third, effects in phone calls over a network. The users with insufficient bandwidth will have a low quality audio. It also can have gaps in the call as it can miss some part in the call. Fourth, effects for video streaming in HD quality. The United States Federal Commission Communications (FCC) recommend the 4 Mbps bandwidth for HD streaming video, and the bandwidth below it will have a long buffering, and the video can suddenly stop when the buffers run out. Fifth, effects while playing games. The users uh, with with higher bandwidth can see what's happened faster than the users who has a little bandwidth. For the observations, there are many ways to define message bandwidth depending on the need. First, the theoretical maximum. It is the highest transmission rate under ideal circumstances. Cannot be achieved in actual installations and typically used only for comparisons as a way of determining how well a connection is functioning. Second, effective bandwidth. It is the highest reliable transmission rate, always lower than the theoretical maximum, sometimes considered the best usable bandwidth, and necessary for understanding the amount of traffic a connection can support. Third, the throughput. The average rate of successful data transfer, useful for understanding the typical or usual speed of a connection, and can be compared to the effective bandwidth and the theoretical maximum. Fourth, the good put. It measures the amount of useful data that is transferred, excluding undesirable data, such as packet retransmissions or protocol overhead. Fifth, total transfer method. It counts, it counts all traffic across a percent of time, typically a month, and most useful for billing based on how much bandwidth is used. And the sixth, 95 percentile method to avoid having measurements skewed by spikes in usage, and useful for billing based on how much bandwidth is normally used in a set of period.
Okay, advices about bandwidth. There are so many things that can optimize your bandwidth, but I listed it here three. The first thing is use QoS or quality of service. Quality of service helps to manage delay, jitter, and packet loss to your network infrastructure, then configuring routers to create separate virtual queues for each application based on their priority. Okay, moving into the second point is use cloud application. A cloud application is an internet-based program where some or all of the processing logic and data storage process in the cloud. By outsourcing some of your traffic into public and private cloud networks, you can relieve some of the pressure on your own network. This also reduces your monitoring burdens and heightens the performance of your more regularly used applications. Okay, into the last point is restrict using VoIP. VoIP is an acronym for Voice over Internet Protocol, or commonly known as Phone over the Internet. Why do I advise restricting VoIP? Having too many devices hooked up at the same system, all being used at the same time, will run out of bandwidth and slowing your connection to a crawl. Insufficient bandwidth to handle a void call will lead to packets being dropped or delivered out of order. Okay, that's all from me. To enjoy your MCO day.
Now the conclusion. As for the conclusion of this topic, I can say that bandwidth can be one of the most important thing right now because we often to use internet every day. For example, we can see in this current situation due to pandemic COVID-19, everyone need to use internet for their works and learn. So if they don't have enough insufficient bandwidth, so they cannot doing their job very well. So that's all from us today. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you guys can take some of the advice that we make in this presentation. Thank you one more. Wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.